Okay, Venerable Brante, Dhamma friends, we are going to start the last Dhamma sermon. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Parang rakkissamiti bhikkave satipatthānaṁ sevitabbhaṅ. Dear Venerable Bhante, Dhamma friends, actually we have taken Sedaka Sutta as the theme of this retreat. So Sedaka Sutta is available in the Samyutta Nikaya, that is the connected discourses of the Buddha, where it is in the section of mindfulness, Satipatthana Samyutta. Now in this particular sutta, Buddha starts with explaining a particular story, a past story, what has happened between one acrobat and between himself and the apprentice, his student. So before they start their play, the teacher, the acrobat, he asks his student to concern about the teacher, concern about me, and I will concern about you. So basically he is telling, okay, when I am keeping the bamboo pole on my shoulder, you have to get into it, you have to get up, go up, and while you are there, when you are performing the acrobatic, you have to be worried about me or you have to concern about me. And then I will take care of you. And then the student, the apprentice mentioned, it's not going to work like that. I will take care of myself, you may take care of yourself. Then it will work out. And mentioning that, Buddha say, so the second one, what apprentice has mentioned is the way of doing it. So you can take care of yourself, I will take care of myself, then we will both do it properly. Now, taking this as a theme, now Buddha mentioned, Attanam bhikkhave rakkissamiti satipatthānaṁ sevitabbhaṁ. Thinking that I am going to protect myself, I am going to safeguard myself, you got to develop mindfulness, you got to develop the four foundations of mindfulness. So, further Buddha highlights, Attanam rakkhanto parang rakkati. So when you guard yourself, when you protect yourself, you inevitably protect the others as well. That's an interesting phenomena, interesting principle. So Buddha is asking us to develop mindfulness, develop the practice, thinking that I am going to protect myself, I am going to guard myself. But it inevitably helps to guard the others as well, help the others as well. And we discussed that to some extent. In one sense, when we are recognizing about ourselves, what are the shortcomings of ourselves? So am I a character who is easily getting angry? Am I having many defilements? So am I easily being provocated? Quickly taking some biased decisions? Sometimes taking wrong decisions? So sometimes very much like we are understanding our own faults, certain delusions that we are going through, very much like a self-revelation, understanding our shortcomings, understanding our faults. So more you understand about ourselves, then we can rectify that, then we can find a solution for that. So we start with development of the body awareness. Then slowly as we progress, we start understanding our emotions. So rather than immediately reacting to emotions, then we can at least look at them. Knowingly, probably we may be reacting. As we progress, now we probably able to stop reacting, as we discussed yesterday, stop maybe hitting another person, stop maybe blaming another person, but still maintaining whatever the anger within ourselves. Maybe as further we progress, knowing anger at an early stage, recognizing an emotion at its early stage. So even for us, it may produce less burning, less impact in ourselves. And as we further progress, probably even at its very early stage, we can understand a thought. It may be not really an emotion, it may be a little thought, it may be a feeling. So at its early stage, then we are recognizing. Then of course, it is less harmful. Then we can, by that mere recognition would be enough to overcome that, to abandon that. So very much like we are safeguarding ourselves, looking after ourselves, protecting ourselves, not being victimized to various defilements. So understanding various shortcomings, understanding various defilements, time to time arising in ourselves, not being simply blinded by that, not being simply impulsively victimized to that. Now I can step back and watch it. Now understanding defilements. So this is a very, very critical part in the practice. Only when we clearly see the defilements, then only there is a path, there is a way to overcome that. Sometimes we may understand, okay, I have anger. Without admitting it, without acknowledging it, if you are trying to suppress it, or simply behaving, pretending like I don't have anger, both ways not going to work. So the point is to understand, okay, when anger is there, okay, admitting, okay, there is anger. Say, another defilement, say there is lust, okay, I admit, okay, there is lust. Okay, jealousy, okay, there is jealousy. So likewise, whatever the negative, unwholesome thoughts, whatever the negative, unwholesome defilements, we can simply admit, we can simply recognize, know that, notice that. And if we have enough mindfulness, if we have clear comprehension, then there is a possibility not to get involved with it, not to, say, being victimized to it, not to get driven by that, rather let it go. So there are various mechanisms. So maybe you can replace at the beginning. When the mindfulness is not yet developed, what we can do is kind of a replacement. Say when anger is there, okay, I am going to replace anger with metta, loving kindness. Possible. When lust is there, probably I am talking about or thinking about the loathsomeness of the body, so that lust would be abandoned. When I understand some kind of jealousy in the mind, probably I can think of how to help another person. So kind of a counteractive process. But when we are developing with mindfulness, so these techniques even change. So when anger is there, you can step back and watch anger as anger. When lust is there, you can recognize, okay, there is lust. When jealousy is there, you can recognize, okay, there is jealousy. When restlessness is there, you can recognize, okay, now the mind is restless. So likewise, kind of step back and watching it, recognizing it, acknowledging it. And not to suppress it, but to properly putting it onto the correct perspective, properly understanding it. So Buddha emphasized, Janato bhikkave passato asavanam khayang vadami. Knowingly, Janato, passato, seeing, then there is a possibility of overcoming defilements, possibility of overcoming influxes, asavas. So slowly now we are understanding, when am I getting victimized to defilements? How often I get victimized to defilements? Is there a possibility to avoid being a victim of a certain defilement in my mind when they are arising? Say you sometimes feel conceited. I am the boss, I am the best. Maybe a conceit when it is arising. And probably in the past I might have behaved in a certain way when such defilement is available in the mind. Is it possible to recognize it as a defilement? It is a mental state. This is conceit. This is kind of maybe a proudness. Is it possible to recognize it? Rather than in a foolish way behaving according to it. So likewise now we are learning kind of a way to recognize defilements as defilements, unwholesome states as unwholesome states. So that's a very interesting phenomena. So typically what happens is we are driven by defilements. So we are like puppets of the defilement. So they are operating again and again in the mind. We constantly being victimized to that. We constantly being kind of eaten by the defilements. But if we have a way to overcome that, if we have a way to, say, without being victimized, to go through that, so that's a real achievement. Now, today I thought of discussing the other side. So now Buddha further emphasize parang rakkissamiti satipattanang sevitabbang. Now your emphasis is not merely looking after yourself, the second aspect. Buddha highlight parang rakkissamiti satipattanang sevitabbang. And you want to help others. In order to help others, you are developing mindfulness. It is not that you are neglecting you, but you have some concern about others as well. Now, in order to help others, protect others, you are going to develop mindfulness. And Buddha invites us to develop mindfulness. Parang rakkissamiti satipattanang sevitabbang. You have a kind of a concern about others. That concern is a reason for you to develop mindfulness. That's a very interesting way that Buddha is putting it. How are you going to do that? So then Buddha explained, parang rakkanto attanang rakkati. So if you are taking care of another person in this way, then obviously it will take care of you. It has both sides. So when you are taking care of others by developing mindfulness, for foundations of mindfulness, it helps to protect you, guard you as well. How? Khantiya avihinsaya metta chittataya anuddayataya. Khantiya, by being patient. So are we patient? So by being patient, so Buddha say, so you are going to protect others, it will help to protect you. And then avihinsaya, being harmless. So developing harmless attitude. So you are helping others as well as you are helping you. Metta chittataya, by developing loving kindness, you are helping others as well as you are helping you. Then anuddayataya, by sympathizing to others, you are helping you. So these are interesting areas that we can now discuss. So it is not a kind of a selfish practice anymore. So sometimes when we think about meditators, so they concern about themselves and they neglect everything else. They don't care about others. They simply want to sit cross-legged, don't disturb me. So kind of a, some seclusion. That is there, yes. But when the certain qualities are being developed within oneself, so more and more he is benefiting as well as the others also start to benefit. Now, these aspects, so highlighted today, is related to the others. So he has to be patient. Now say for example, while we are meditating, say someone knocks the door, or someone quickly make a abrupt sound. So we can quickly get, jerk, or we can quickly get angry. So by that time, rather than impulsively reacting, so we have to be patient. We have to have some kind of a forgiveness, acknowledgement, accepting, okay, there is such possibility, a possibility of making mistakes. So having some space in our heart, to opening up the heart. Now say, when it goes to loving kindness, so the same thing. So we are having a friendly attitude towards the others. And anuddayataya, having certain kind of a sympathetic approach towards the others. And the other thing, avihinsaya, having harmless attitude in one's mind. Now these things are also included into the satipatthana practice. Now, as we develop satipatthana, the mindfulness practice, so we start recognizing ourselves. And sometimes we get short-tempered, easily get angry, and often become, say, losing our temper. So we have to understand, okay, these are still some shortcomings available with me. So here I have to be patient with it. I have to accept it. I have to be sympathetic about it. So in a way, first of all, I have to have some self-compassion, isn't it? So kind of a self-compassion to ourselves. Okay, I am not a perfect person. I am not an arahant. So I need to admit it. I make mistakes. So you recognize your own shortcomings. So in order to recognize our own shortcomings, we should be aware of it. So the problem is we don't recognize our shortcomings, we impulsively react and sometimes we justify it. Okay, I am correct, you are wrong. So we take a stand thinking, okay, every time I am correct, you are every time wrong. So that doesn't make any progress. Rather, in an unbiased way, if we are able to recognize certain defilements arising in the mind, understanding certain emotions arising in the mind, noticing it when they are arising, being fully aware of it, so that is a must. So, in a way, first of all, we need to understand our own faults, our own emotions, our own defilements, our own thoughts. Then there's a fair chance that we can recognize someone else's emotions, someone else's thoughts maybe even. So how they are reacting, how they are behaving, how their facial impressions, expressions. So using that, probably we can get a fair guess. So basically, understanding our own emotions, understanding someone else's emotions. So these are being discussed today in the emotional intelligence. Probably you have heard about it. Emotional intelligence, EQ, right? Related to EQ, emotional quotient. So previously, actually, we were discussing IQ, intelligence quotient. But now people are fairly concerned about EQ also. A very intelligent person might not have any idea about another person. That's not going to work. So he has to have some heart aspect as well, some ability to read another person, to have a sense about another person. Without it, we can't progress in our life. So it is not an individual that we are continuously living. We have to have maybe with our companions, our children, our parents, our friends, our neighbors. So it's not a unique, independent person that's walking through the life. Rather, we as a society, we as a family, so we are navigating through the life. So we have to have this kind of a overall idea about the others. So that's why people are now talking about EQ, intelligence about the emotions. Now understanding our own emotions. So that is easy if we practice mindfulness. So we start with the basic body awareness, but slowly it will help us to understand our own emotions as well. So when emotions are recognized, so rather than immediately victimize it, okay, I admit it, okay, this kind of emotion is available right now, I am being angry, okay, there's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of unhappiness, maybe a little restlessness. So if I can understand that, rather than promoting it, rather than feeding it, probably I have a chance to look at it, step back and watch it. So step back and watching it. So we are learning that again and again throughout the Satipatthana. Say we allow the body to breathe, not interfering it, not interrupting it, not going to change it. Step back, watch it. So there are various feelings, we are not going to change it, we are not going to interrupt it. Step back, watch it. It may be a pleasurable feeling, it may be a painful feeling, it may be a equanimous feeling. Okay, let me watch it, let me observe it. So similarly, there may be an emotion right now. Saragan cittanti pajanati. Sadosan cittanti pajanati. So Buddha say, okay, whenever you have a lustful thought, a lustful state of mind, okay, you recognize it. Whenever there is angry or ill will in the mind, okay, you recognize it. So this recognition, acceptance, not promoting it, by the way. Now you are making a little distance, a little separation, and then observe it. So more and more we are doing it, so they lose the grip, they lose the power. So they become weaker and weaker. So the mindfulness as a skill being developed in ourselves. So as we promote it, as the clear comprehension improves, even the very first thought would be able to recognize. So that is highlighted in the Dhammanupassana. Say, first stage is when it is present, you are understanding it. Because not yet you are capable to understand the very first thought. What you can do is when it is present, once it has developed to some extent, you being sensitive to it and you understand. But later, you understand, okay, now there is no anger in the mind, so you are aware of it. But now due to some reason, okay, now angry thought, a thought of ill will is arising. Now you notice it. Anuppannassa vyapadassa uppado hoti tancha pajanati. There was no anger, there was no ill will. Now it is arising. So you notice it. So if you are able to notice it, then there's a choice. Are we going to support it or are you going to abandon it? Now we have a chance not to be a victim of it, rather to see it, to understand it. Similarly, if there is another say defilement, another hindrance, say anuppannassa vichikiccaya uppado hoti tancha pajanati. So whenever there was no doubt, but now there is a doubt arising. You have a kind of a skeptical doubt, any kind of a, say, wavering in the mind, so you recognize it. So very much like being aware of the whole process. It's not merely a bodily awareness now, it is very much like overall awareness about ourselves. Typically we call as self-awareness. And more we are very much like practicing, using ourselves as a field, as a lab, as an experiment. Then we can apply it to the outside as well. How about my friend? Is he in an angry mood? Is he in a good mood to talk? Sometimes assume that I have to talk to someone. So when he is in a bad mood, even if I am going and telling something good, so whatever my suggestion might be wasted, because I didn't find the correct time. So whenever we want to talk to someone, if I want to discuss with something, say finding the correct time is very important. So Buddha highlights that. Say if you have to, say, talk to someone, few things actually he highlight. Am I going to talk something useful? Am I going to talk the truth? And do I have kind of a sympathetic approach towards the other person? And next, is he in a good mood? Is this the right time to talk? So you can see, it is not merely we are going and attacking the other person, particularly when we have to show a fault in him. So when we want to discuss about the mistake, say someone has done, so sometimes what happens is, because of the mistake I get angry, immediately I am going to talk, immediately I am impulsive to react, maybe even to punish. So then the whole thing might be further damaged. But might have noticed the problem, noticed the fault, waiting for the right time, finding my attitude is also now changed to a kind of a compassionate attitude. Now finding the right time and then talking. Maybe more giving us opportunity to develop ourselves, to properly have a proper discussion. Now that actually helps to another side, what we call kind of a relationship maintenance. Having a good relationship. So actually these are nowadays discussed in the Western psychology, kind of body awareness, self-awareness, self-regulation, and then interpersonal relationships, taking proper decisions. In these terms, actually, they are discussing, but everything is available in the practice. Actually, we can use modern terms so that we are a bit enthusiastic rather than using some Pali terms. So we can modernize it a little bit. So we can talk about self-awareness, isn't it? We can talk about self-regulation. Okay, you understand your emotions rather than allowing it to burst out. So you recognize it, let it go, calm down, so you regulate it. And then interpersonal relationships. So you can understand someone else's emotions. So when to talk about it, and when is the best time to pass a particular message? What is the best time? So likewise, then we are in a better position to maintain a relationship, a good relationship. And on the other hand, when we are taking a decision, typically what happens is we take a side and take the decision. But on the other hand, if we are able to see all sides, so why this person has done that? So what are the reasons? So what is the best way of taking a solution? So what are the possibilities? So as we are able to step back and watch, so when there is an experience, when there is an issue, if we are able to step back and watch, so that's a very, very important skill we have. Now say for example, when we are happy, typically what happens is we get elated, I am delighted, I am jumping, I am laughing. So this is the usual way of reacting. But if we are able to understand, okay, now I am in a happy mood. Okay, as a kind of a happiness is there now, a pleasure being arise. So we little step out of it. So we are not going to control it, we are not going to suppress it, not going to get elated by that, but step out and look at it. Say similarly, when anger is there, step out and look at it. So this way we have a better opportunity to face whatever the emotions. Now similarly, if we know when there is an issue, maybe at your college or maybe at your institute, in your company, so how about step back and watch it, finding out all the different reasons, many different viewpoints, and then we may be in a better position to get the correct decision. So that's why in that social and emotional learning, so they are talking about the correct decision making. By looking at all different possibilities, so you can take a proper decision, correct decision. Now, we can see in that sense, now actually Satipatthana is not a selfish practice. Rather, it is now evolved, expanded towards the other people as well. So you are able to understand another person. Actually, this is highlighted another way in Satipatthana Sutta. Iti ajjattang va kaye kayanupassee vihirati, iti bahidda va kaye kayanupassee vihirati. Even at the kayanupassana level. Say, you are understanding about your body, the bodily movements, various postures, maybe elements, characteristics, so all related to your own body. But later, you can even understand another person's body. Now, if we take an example of elements meditation, now directly we can experience element characteristics using our own body. When hardness is there, we can experience. When softness is there, we can experience. When weight is there, we can experience. When vibrations are there, we can experience. So these are direct experience. And more we experience that, then we understand, okay, this body continuously have all these different kinds of element characteristics. So you again and again observe it. While standing you are observing, while sitting you are observing, while lying down you are observing, while walking you are experiencing. Now, when you are again and again observing like that, so what would be the attitude, what would be the perception about this? So the perception would be, it is not a person, it is a mere manifestation of different elements. So you lose that compactness. Typically compactness means, I am a person, this is my body, I am this. So we take the whole thing as one thing, what we call as ganasanya in Pali, ganasanya, the perception of compactness. But when we are using mindfulness, concentration, clear comprehension to understand how they are, put together, how different components come in together and working in harmony, and how different elements are working together. Now say, for example, say we continuously see MRT here, right? Now, it's a train. We can call it a train, it's a MRT, we can give whatever the name. Now, how many apartments are there? I don't know, 20? 10? Okay, let's take 10. Okay, 10 apartments. Say we'll take one apartment. How many wheels are there? Say 20. Okay, 20 wheels. How many chairs are there? Seats are there? Say 20. Okay, another 20. How many other different equipments, gadgets are there? So we can disassemble the whole thing, isn't it? So when everything is disassembled, so where is the apartment? So the apartment is a name that we have given, so to easily recognize it, right? So we get together different components and then we prepare it in a particular shape, in a particular way. Then we give it a name, this is an apartment. And then we put together, say 10 apartments, one apartment, another apartment, another apartment, another apartment, another apartment. Now we give it a name, this is MRT, this is a train. So likewise, we are very talented in giving names. When things are together, we can give it a label, a name. So where are the real components? When it comes to the real components, real building blocks, there is no something like a train. A train is something, a concept. So we are introducing to the situation, to the kind of a process. Now, as we develop elements meditation, for example, so this become somewhat obvious. So this become kind of an understanding as an insight. So we have a person here, an individual here, I, ego, that is only a little bit dissolved, and we see different elements are there. Okay, different elements are continuously changing, sometimes earth element, sometimes water element, sometimes air element, sometimes say heat element. So different elements are continuously changing, manifesting, changing, arising, passing away. Continuous progress of different elements. Now that is the inside. How about outside? Now you assume that you saw it, you thoroughly understood it. So internally the whole body, whole physicality is nothing but the manifestation of elements. How about outside? It's also the same. So as we are thoroughly see it, so you can inferentially understand, it is also the same. I mean, here also elements. There are also elements. Here also element. This also element. My robe is also element. Everything is elements. So can you be angry with elements? So in order to be angry, you should have a person, right? Then only we can easily be angry. Either you as a person, I am useless, so I am a person. Then you can be angry with yourself. Say you can be angry with your wife, with your husband, because he is a person. But when you see as elements, it's very difficult. You can try whether you can be angry with elements. So basically, we lose that compactness, the ganasanya, and we look at the whole thing as kind of a changing flux. This as a kind of a flux, they are also kind of a flux. So where am I find a person then? Where can I find an individual? Where is I? Where is me? Where is myself? Now these kinds of insights are, when they are arising, actually our typical way of looking at the life really challenged. Now typically we have all the concepts and we are very much like strongly adhere to those concepts. We take them as the truth. All that being heavily challenged as we are continuing the practice, particularly when insights are arising. Now, when such understanding is there, when you are looking at the others also like that, and probably they are still behaving, taking things so serious, and I am a person, you are a bad guy, you are a good guy. So they are still doing the same thing. But now you have a little understanding about, okay, it is something, it's a concept, it's a combination, it's a compactness, so people have given the names, they are not really intrinsically available. So you have some understanding, but still others are struggling. So what kind of an attitude do you have towards the others? Little bit sympathetic towards them. It's okay, you as a practitioner, at least you have some idea about it, how things are happening, but others still trapped in the same thing. So you naturally will have kind of a sympathetic approach. Because I was there, still I sometimes get trapped, still I sometimes get fooled. But at least when I am practicing, I have some wisdom. I know what is going on. Time to time I have some wisdom. So you understand that at least. Not yet it is continuously available, but at least when I am sitting, when I am practicing, at least I have a great insight, opens my eye. Oh, what's going to happen? What is really there? So then you have a sympathetic approach about yourself, and you can understand how about the others. I mean, they are not into practice, they are simply victims of this whole conceptual proliferation. So you may have more sympathy towards the others. And so when we are further and further developing, so probably you can further detach from the whole process. Say for example, when we understand the feelings, so typically we are driven by feelings. We always going after pleasure, the pleasure principle. So going after pleasure. I want to be happy, I want this, I want that, this is not enough, that is not enough. When I am going to get that, when I am going to take that. So being sort of going endlessly on different desires. And on the other hand, when feeling is there, if you can look at how desire is arising, that's a very interesting phenomena, what we call as the causality or dependent origination, the patissamuppada. So that's a very interesting area you can observe in your practice, particularly when you are practicing, say, chittanupassana. So how the desire is arising. Say, for example, you are going to assume that today, say, a good food is there. Say, they are offering a very good whatever. So when you taste it, oh my goodness, can I have another piece? So you get the desire. So this feeling has conditioned the mind to look for something more. It has aroused a desire. Vedana paccaya tanha. So the feeling conditions craving. So the craving to arise, a desire to arise, so feeling could be a prerequisite. Feeling could cause desire to arise. So while practice, while we are doing chittanupassana, while we are doing vedananupassana, when you are particularly observing feelings, when different pleasurable feelings are there, you can little warn yourself there is a possibility to arise a desire. Assume that you see a beautiful sight, and there could be a possibility to arise a desire because it has given you a pleasant feeling. So that pleasant feeling probably promotes a desire. So understanding desires, understanding this principle, how feelings cause desires, is another very interesting insight. So understanding all these are in a way understanding. So we are understanding our workings of the mind. So how different desires are arising based on the feelings. Now as we continue, when we are doing like that, so the ability to become victimized to desires can be reduced. Because you can understand, okay, it's a temporary achievement, it may be a temporary gratification. So likewise you balance the thing. It doesn't mean that we stop eating or, we avoid the breakfast, we avoid the lunch. Not like that. And someone has already mentioned today, so while eating, she got the desire. True. So can we admit that? Can we see that? So when desire is arising, can we be sensitive to that? So that would be helpful. Then when you admit that it is available in myself, how about in your child? When he has seen something, when a beautiful sight has seen, so immediately he is asking that, okay, Mommy, I want it. Daddy, I want it. So a kind of a pleasant sensation has arisen in him. It is conditioned in the mind, it is asking the mind, it is triggering the mind, oh, you need it, ask it. Try to buy it. So we are driven by the desires. But the underneath, feelings are working, feelings are operating. But the more we understand the feelings, then there is a chance to avoid the trap, simply driven by the desire. Okay, I can see the desire now. Feelings was there. That was the culprit. That was there. So it has promoted a desire. I can see the desire now. Now, when desire is there, you can get into the grasping. So you are holding it, you are thinking about it again and again, you are imagining about it, talking about it. So that is the fully grasping part. You are holding it, mind become occupied with it. So is it possible to abandon grasping? Once you are able to recognize at the desire level, if you are able to let go of it, then you can avoid the grasping. So what is the practice result? Now say for example, whenever you are observing different desires, or rather feelings, so the more and more you minimize desires, you are not victimized to desires. In a way you are minimizing the grasping, holding, adhering, strongly clinging to something. Now mind feels little relaxed, released, less desires, free from grasping, free from holding, free from too much thinking, overthinking. Mind feel lighter, mind feel little spacious. Now if you look at your own mind, how many thoughts are coming to the mind? If you look at your own mind, how many mental images are coming to the mind? If you look at our own mind, how many manipulations, how many fabrications, constructions are happening in our mind? So our mind is like a factory, doing so many things, holding so many things, holding maybe grudges, holding many past memories, thinking about the future, imaginations, our own fantasies. So many things are, stored in our mind. Very heavy. Don't you feel? Is your mind heavy? So even though the head is maybe several kilos, maybe is there a possibility to count the heaviness of the thoughts, images and all that? It may be calculated several tons. Maybe metric tons. But with the practice, so you have to feel lighter. So thoughts are coming, but they are not being fed. They may lose, they may go. Images are coming, you note them, that they may go. Feelings are coming, you notice them, they will go. They are not stored in the mind. So the space in the mind become available now. Now say for example, now in this hall, say we have 100 people. Now after the discourse, say everybody leave. Now you can see that it is quite spacious, right? So similarly in our mind, when it is occupied by so many thoughts, so many fabrications, so many fantasies, so many images, mental images, maybe happiness, pleasure and all that feelings as well. So very crowded. But with time, when we are continuing the practice, so we start to let go things rather than holding things. And you feel heavy when you are holding things. You feel burdened when you are holding things. So mind starts feeling it. Mind will sort of indicate you, just drop it, just forget it. So mind will tell you, because you become more sensitive now. It will invite you to drop it. It will invite you to let go rather than holding. And mind become more spacious. Now you can put something useful, something valuable, instead of loading, storing so much unnecessary things. So in a way, it's a kind of a reprogramming the whole system now. So our mind has so many unnecessary things, but now you know, okay, this is only necessary. Only this part is necessary. I don't need to memorize everything. That's a very interesting story. There was a Brahmin called Unnaba. So his name is called Unnaba. He's really an academic person, very intelligent person. So he once came and met the Buddha. So he made a little research, kind of an experiment. Now, we can see many things through the eyes. Will they reside in the eye? Will they remain in the eye after we see? We can hear many things through our ears, many sounds from the morning to the night, many things we can hear. Are they remaining in our ears? And through the tongue we can taste many things. In the morning we had breakfast, after some time we had a tea, maybe we had the lunch, many different tastes were there. Is it available now in your tongue? All the different tastes? And many smells are there. So different smells are there. You can smell different odors. All the odors that you have experienced, are they available now? Nothing is there. How about the body? That you have gone through different experiences, touching sensations. Maybe right now you may have the touching sensations of your chair or your cushion. So where are they gone? So I'll ask a question. Now say a little kid is there. Now he is learning. He is seeing things, he is hearing things, smelling, tasting, touching. All things are there. The physical faculties. Through the physical faculties he is, communicating with the world. So he is seeing sights, hearing sounds, smelling odors, tasting various tastes. Through the tongue, through the body he has a lot of sensations. So where are they being stored? So this Unnaba, the Brahmin Unnaba, he's asking that question from the Buddha. Now these different faculties, they have their particular domain. Eyes can only manage with sights. Ears can only manage with sounds. Smells can only manage with nose. Tongue can only manage with taste. Body can only manage with tangibles. Eyes can't hear sounds. Ears can't see the sights. Nose can't hear sounds. Nose can't hear sights. Can the nose taste the taste? So they have their particular domain, right? So a very interesting way how he is looking at the faculties. So he is asking the question from the Buddha, Bhante, where are they going ultimately? Who is the one going to consume all these data? So what would be the answer? So Buddha say, the mind. So mind is the one going to ultimately consume, to taste, So that is the person ultimately taste. Now there's a separate question. Now consider a 5-year boy, 5-year child. So during his lifespan, so he has gathered some information, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles. So he has some information gathered, stored in his mind. He has something. A 10-year, again he has something. A 20-year, he has something. Say 50-year, he has something. Which one has a lot? Which one has a lot stored information? Adults. Okay? Now, all that stored information, are they really beneficial, valuable, and useful ones stored in our mind? Or we have a lot of garbage, unnecessary, useless stuff? So can you imagine, how many stored information are there in our minds? Much unnecessary, useless, lot of garbage. Comparatively, a child's mind is fairly pure, very pure, compared to ours, compared to our adults. So now the question is there, okay, already my mind is corrupted. So how am I going to purify that? So he asked that question next from the Buddha. Interestingly, Buddha say, sati, the mindfulness, is the solution. So you have mindfulness as a way to purify the mind. So that's the very first statement coming in the Satipatthana also, the Satipatthana Sutta. Ekayano ayam bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhya. So there's a direct path to purify the minds. So the same answer Buddha gives there also. Satya, sati, the mindfulness is the refuge for such a mind. Now that's why, whatever we have gathered, nothing remains in our eyes, nothing remains in our ears, nose, tongue, body, but something we have extracted, we have taken and stored in our mind. What is mostly available might be not necessary. So the practice in a way help us to drop a lot. It's a kind of an unloading process, a de-learning process. So we have a lot of unnecessary stuff, so just de-load it, unload it, de-learn it. So Buddha mentioned, so when your boat is lighter, you can quickly cross to the other shore. If your boat is very heavy, you are carrying a huge load, very difficult to cross to the other shore. How about your boat? How many kilos are there? How many tons are there? Are you ready to unload? Or you want to hold everything? You want to put your whole baggage on your head? Or are you ready to keep it aside? So we can ask ourselves, how many things are loaded in myself? How many memories are there? How many imaginations are there? How many fantasies are there? How many thoughts are there? Continuously thinking, too much thinking, overthinking, proliferations, ruminations. What a burden. So the practice helps us to understand all this, to drop a huge load, to prepare the mind so that it has some space for good things. And to understand, okay, sometimes I overthink, no need. Too much thinking, a huge cause for many issues. Conceptual proliferation is a root cause for many, many issues. So more and more we start practicing, these thoughts are merely thoughts. I don't need to overthink about them. Thoughts are merely thoughts, let them go, let them drop. So you start learning how to drop the thoughts. Let go of the thoughts rather than feeding them. So then once a while at least, probably you understand, okay, now mind is not talking. Inner chatter has stopped. You know our inner chatter? Okay, it has stopped. Very calm, very relaxed. I feel lighter. And sometimes, if you practice a lot, you may understand even the mind has a lot of clarity now. It is something like this hall with nobody. Everyone has gone, a lot of space is there. Now you can plant what is necessary. So likewise, so it is a simplifying. So our whole mind become more simplified. So it has so many unnecessary things, lot of confusions. Now all that slowly abandoned. So the mind has a lot of space, relax, calm. You can sleep without a problem. You can take a rest. You can enjoy, okay, at a silent mind, a quiet mind. So we can enjoy the inner silence, stillness of the mind. So these are very interesting actually benefits that we as human beings can be benefited. So if we are able to benefit like that, so definitely naturally we have loving kindness. Naturally you may have kind of a sympathetic approach. So they are very much like our inherent qualities in our human nature. It is not that we are, forcefully implanting. Rather, more and more we develop such kind of an understanding. Naturally, we are good human beings. Naturally, we are wholesome. So therefore, this whole practice is kind of combining many aspects. Starting with ourselves with very basic, simple practices, but slowly it's expanding, enveloping many other areas, and it is harnessing our skills and developing ourselves so that basically we become good human beings. Then as a family, as a society, as a world, we can grow in a better way. Okay, with that note, I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon, and thank you very much for attentive listening.
Thank you very much, Venerable Sirs. Dear Venerable Sirs, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, we have just completed our most successful 3-day retreats. Are you happy? I think most of you have attended 3 days. Some of you have no leaves on the plus 2 days. Some of them have attended today. We are very happy. We have so many people attended. On behalf of all the venerables in our temple, management committee, and all the members and devotees of the Mangala Vihara, first I would like to thank Most Venerable Panadure Chandaratana Nayaka Mahathera. Bante kindly accepted our invitation. Also, he came all the way from Sri Lanka to do this retreat. He's doing a lot of this kind of work, retreat. Also, he's on the way to Melbourne. Tomorrow he's going to Melbourne to do another retreat. Despite of his busy schedule, he accepted our invitation. Thank you very much, Venerable. Say sadhu 3 times. Also, I would like to thank our organizing committee headed by Mr. Kelvin and Sister Donna and Sister Janet and all those, so many helpers are there. Thank you very much for your help. Say sadhu for them also. Also, I would like to thank all the venerables in our temples, also management committee, and all the support we can get through our members and devotees. Because these 3 days, we totally closed our temple. We just focused on the retreat. I think they understood what the main purpose. Some of them, they have no chance to come into the shrine hall and pay respect. They went up, but they understood what is our purpose. For them also, we say sadhu 3 times and say thank you. Okay, it is time to share the merit with the devas and our past relatives. Some of you can take a pot.